Get started. Okay, so all of y'all are like, you've wrapped something before. Y'all have known how to. If y'all had, raise your hand if you've had experience wrapping. Okay, all right. So, how many? Raise your hand if you're like fearful of wrapping something.
I don't like it.
Fearful. Okay, all right. So we'll first talk about what you need. So what you need is you got to have a squeegee, and use a felt tip squeegee, because it reduces the scratching on the surface. You need tape, either like masking tape. I actually like using duct tape, like a duct tape that's not very sticky. Now we go around rivets and things like that. I use a torch, and then I have this Rolly Pro. But these are things that we mostly would use for like a different material for like doing like a regular vehicle, trailers, things like that. But for the normal race car, the way that we're going to do this, you don't need heat or anything like that, because you only want to use heat at a last resort. So the first thing you're going to do is I'm going to show this technique of a late model of wrapping it on a bench, which is way easier. It takes way less time to do it on a bench than it does on the car. So if you can be prepared at all to be able to do your doors and quarter panels on the bench, you'll wipe right through them, and you won't have the problems with the obstacles and the curvature of the doors when, usually the right sides have a big concave in the right side. You got to get rid of that, or how the left doors, will bubble out. So like here's just a standard door. We have no rivets, no bolts or anything like that. Definitely number one thing is peel the plastic off. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but like there are people who left the plastic on. So we're gonna do that. Now you wanna clean and prep. This one's already is, I don't need to go through that. But like when you prep something, it's really important that you clean it and clean the edges very well, but what you clean it with. So what you don't wanna use is, don't use any sort of like anything on the market like a slick mist or WD-40, or what is kind of popular is SD-20. Do not use SD-20 on if you're gonna, because all those things leave a residue, and then the adhesives won't stick. So what you want to use is denatured alcohol. You can use glass cleaner if you want, but use the ammonia-free glass cleaner. Usually the foamy ones are the ammonia-free. The ammonia outgasses and it reacts with the adhesive on the vinyl, so you don't really want to have to, deal with that. So now that we have a clean panel, now all the tour guys, the guys that get 20, 30 sets a year, they all are in a, we do them all in doors and quarters, fender sides, all individual pieces, because they need to be able to bolt any quarter panel on any door, because they'll have 10 bodies made up. So like here, all I'm gonna do is line it up across the top, and that's where I want it, right there. And when you can feel, I'm basically gonna wanna center the product sponsors across the bottom, and I'm pretty close there. And so and this is really where the templates come in, that like I know the templates of a Longhorn, I know the templates of a Rocket. And Barry changes this stuff a lot, but we know those for the, So next thing you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to tape it down. Just a little piece of tape. We'll tape it in the middle here. And now to be able to access this right here, as I feel the edge of the panel, and I have a knife. That was my other thing that you needed, was one of these utility knives. I'm just gonna cut this across here. And I'm gonna put a piece of tape there. So now that it's taped down, this thing can't go anywhere. And it can't go left or right or up or down. That's all we wanna do. We're basically creating a hinge. So pull this from right here. Now you'll peel this part back. And then cut it. Now, you have your squeegee, and what you're going to want to do is hold it up and make sure it's got a roll in it. See how it's like, you don't want like a dimple in it or like a wrinkle or anything. You want to be able to just start off with like a gentle roll. And how you want to squeegee is lay the squeegee flat. Don't put your squeegee up like this and go all around. You don't want to do that. You're basically mowing the lawn. You're going to go straight, 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 but at a severe angle. So you'll see as I start right here, I start in the center and then go out on each side. And then this is all air egress vinyl, so if you get a bubble, you can just push it out with your finger. You see, all I'm doing is making sure I overlap. Like right there, I got like a little bubble. And if you ever get in trouble with like a wrinkle, you can always just pick it back up. So, but you don't want to use heat, because once you use heat, you have to keep using heat, because it will soften the material, and it won't have its same structural rigidity that you really need for doing a flat panel. So that's that. Now we'll peel the tape off. Back this way. Now I'm going to make things a little easier. I'm going to pull this paper back. I'm not going to pull it all the way off, because the paper will help me hold it in this roll thing like this. And I'm just going to go and mow through it like that. So you see I'm doing this dry. That's because it has the air channels in the back. If you don't know if you have what kind of material you use, if you peel back a little bit and you look really close, if you start seeing like a grid pattern in there, then it's got air channels in it. But if not, and if it's just nice and slick, that means you don't, and you probably would be better off doing it wet. But I'm not even gonna go over the wet application method, because I don't use any of that material. So. But the key here is that you see that when the first time that the vinyl contacts the surface is when my squeegee makes it. So I don't want to just lay it down, because now I've got, you know, I'm going to end up having bubbles that way. So I'm going to pick it back up, go back to it. All right, so now the panel's on. So now we'll go and we'll trim out the edge, make sure we're over on the front. So I'm just going to trim around it to begin with. It's harder on this table here, but anyways, we got that off of there. All right, so now, especially for a dirt car, it's going to be really important. The most important thing, I know there's a lot of important things, is that you want to trim your edges back, because all of these edges here are rolled and hemmed, and so you have a rounded edge, and I just drug my knife to the edge of it. But what happens is it leaves a little place right there where dirt can get underneath it, like right there where you can pick it, and dirt will get underneath it, and it's going to peel the whole thing back. So you have to get it back to flat aluminum. So all that'll be covered up. So what I do is about 1/8 of an inch, just trim all the way around the panel. And I know it looks like it's it could be, it's not difficult. You get the hang of it pretty quick. But there you go. So now that's a completed panel, and that only took us a couple of minutes. So, and that's all you have to do. Just now you just go and drill your holes out and put your plastic and your braces back in. And so we'll go ahead and do a quarter panel. Same thing, just hang the edge off the bench. And again, the top's gonna line up. We're gonna center the product sponsors, which is about right there. So I'll do this one a little faster, because I explained it all already. Anybody have any questions? And also too, this stuff, if it touches like that, if you don't have Aerograss vinyl, you're in trouble at that point. But because we do, it's not a big deal. So you can't, don't be, you know, you don't want to do that. But if you do, it's not like your day is ruined. You see, I'm basically dragging my knuckles on the panel itself as I just make sure that I overlap and I don't leave spaces in between. It's just like your lawn. You don't want to mow your lawn and have it stripped where you miss. There we go. Roll my edge there at the top. Trim around the outside. And then do the same thing. All right, So there's a quarter. So we did a door and a quarter in just a few minutes. So now what we'll go and do one on the car here, and then we can see the difference in, especially if your squeegee technique is a little bit different. A lot easier is pull out as many of the bolts and stuff as you can. So the thing not working. We can go around these, but it's not advisable. Then you'd have to call me and get a new wrap. Then I'd eat dinner and you'd be paying for it. I think I stripped a bolt out here, I'm sorry. So I might just leave that one because I can't get it out. And so we'll go around one just to see the difference. It's okay. I'm just gonna wipe it down with a cloth. Just any sort of dust or anything like that. So same thing applies here with the tape. I'm just gonna get it up to the top, but I don't know where it's at front and back until I look at it. Okay, so I'll look at my adjustments. Which is there. I'm gonna go back just a little bit with it, but I'm basically watching my product sponsors. This is where the design comes in, that the designer knows that taper of the doors, so that you've probably all seen cars where the product sponsors are running downhill and they get half cut off, or they're cut off in the front. It just looks bad. We don't want to do anything like that. So now that I got it in position, I'm going to put my center hinge in it. This one also, because this car has black skirts with black doors, and I didn't want to go over the rivets if you don't have to. Nobody really wants to go around those. So I have it cut right above the rivets right there. So you don't ever notice that. But if this car had white skirts on it, I would go all the way to the bottom and cover up the rivets. So I'm going to peel back one side of it. Don't let it go. That's a cardinal sin, letting this go and getting it down into the dirt. Then you'll be calling me and getting a new wrap. That's not a warranted item. Most everything else you can fix, but when that happens, you can't. So again, I'm gonna start in the center. Now this door is pretty flat. So it's going to go on the same way. But if the door is bubbled out, what you're going to want to do is not go straight up and down with your squeegee like this. You're going to want to go in a half moon shape, like in an arc, because and still push it out from the center out. But I'm still, and when I counter rivets, I'm just taking my finger. See, like right there, I have a little wrinkle. I went ahead and pulled it out. And so I'm actually having to go the other way with this car, where you see how I'm squeegeeing in a arc shape like this, because it's kind of concave. If you're going to do the right side of a late model on the car, definitely take the braces loose in the center of the door, so that you get rid of that concave, because it'll make your life really difficult. Now here, I left this one in here, so this is how I would encounter this. You don't just want to go right here and cut it, because if you cut it right around that, it's going to end up being short. So what I'm going to do is go all the way around it, feel around it with my finger, and I'm going to get around it without having as big of a radius as I can, so that I don't have any wrinkles outside of that. Now I can finish everything out, and then I'll go back and trim it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to sneak up on this. I'm going to use the hard side of the squeegee right there just to make sure that I'm going to snap this off to get okay. So now I'm going to cut around it, but I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. I'm just kind of lightly cutting. I know this is the part where it looks like, wow, I don't want to do this. This is why you want to pull your bolts out. So basically what I did is I pulled the center out of it. Now I can go and squeegee tight up against it. And it's going to stretch that material back. So now I'm tight all the way around it. Now I can follow and cut that. And then we'll pull that off. There. So that's how you encounter an obstacle like that. We'll go back and hit the rivets in the center after we put the front of it on. So now go ahead and peel up your hinge. I'll peel it back, but I'm going to leave it like I did before. I'm going to grip both of them. Helps me to keep it flat. Again, I have a rivet and hit it with my fingers. Now, no, I could have done every bit of this on the bench like we did the last one. So, does anybody see that why you would rather do it on the bench than doing it on the car? So, if you encounter a wrinkle, if you get like, because you will, just peel it back up and then go and then start from the wrinkle out. But you always, the whole goal of wrapping and squeegeeing is you are always trying to push the air from the inside out. Don't ever push the air to the middle, because then you have to deal with it by either poking a hole or trying to get it out that way, or so there. So I'm gonna make sure my top is rolled nice. I'll trim it. All right, so now, again, really important, we're gonna go trim the edges back. Okay. So now, in the center, we can do these a couple of different ways. You don't have to use heat if you don't want to. You can just go and take your squeegee and go around them, but remember that all this air is pushed in there, so you're trying to redistribute that air out. So that's where the bubble-free material comes in. That I should probably do that as a demonstration. So let's say that we put just something on. I'm gonna try to get a bubble. Okay, so you, like let's say that you encounter like a bubble like this one right here. Can everybody see that? I isolated these two bubbles right there. Right there. So with the air egress material, what you're basically doing is you're pushing the air from here and redistributing it out throughout the rest of it, because it's little air channels. If you put it under a microscope, it's going to look like a highway system with little grooves in it. So you can just get them in the center like that, and then just push on them, and they disappear. So you're squeegeeing, you get you a bubble. If you can push it out to the edge, do it. But if you can't, see that? Able to get that out. If you don't have air egress material, that's not gonna happen. You're gonna have a bubble in it. And so, but anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So we'll go back and do the rivets here. Now, if you want to use heat, we'll do the other couple with some heat. So, I have a torch, but I wouldn't advise really anybody using a torch. You can really burn the wrap, and you don't want to do that. But you can just wave a little bit of heat over it and see how it takes the wrinkles right out of it. And then you can hit it with your Rolly Pro. What it did is basically put that air right into the center of the rivet. I'm gonna hit him with the squeegee anyway. But it's a really good idea to post heat your edges. If you, especially, one of the big things that I see is at the beginning of the season, people will wrap their cars in their shops, and their shops might be 50 degrees or 60 degrees. And then the guys that go down and race in Florida, that's when stuff starts peeling up, because this stuff really needs to be at 75, 80 degrees for it to for it to set. And so I would advise that if you're doing it in your shop, get a torpedo heater or something like that. And don't aim it at the side, but make sure it's pretty warm, and all this stuff is gonna kind of just melt in there. So that's a completed door, but that took probably 10 or 12 minutes. It probably took 2 minutes over there, 3 minutes over there. So that's it. Anybody have any questions? Everybody think they could do it now? Raise hands. Okay, all right, good. We got a few that said they can do it. Okay. All right. Anybody want to see me do the quarter panel? Raise hands, no? Okay. Christian wants to see the quarter panel? Okay, so we'll do the quarter panel. I'm just gonna peel it up. Sometimes those things move around when you take the bolts out, so. Let's see here. And then I'm gonna just trim that. Try to trim that on that line right there. I'll just eyeball it.
Just freehanded?
Yeah, I'll just eyeball it. And you could get a ruler out if you wanted to. Probably be a little easier, but. There. And I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to trim this edge back here.
So just about an 1/8 of an inch?
Yep. Hey, you can even go more on the right side. Like the two areas that are the worst are the right side door behind the right front tire, and then the front of the right quarter.
Okay.
At the bottom. Because you get a big dirt clot up there, then all of a sudden it'll take it all apart. Yep, and there you go.
Okay, got it.
And so the other tip would be after you install it and you take the bolts out and stuff, and I don't know what you have for bolts, but if you have sometimes the washers or if it's just the bolts, wait if you can. Wait a day before you put them back in, because if you put them back in right now, this adhesive is not totally set, you'll start twisting the wrap.
Ah, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
We do put them back in right away. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of times we're last minute.
And
the guys putting the wrap on it when we're loading everything to go to the track.
And you can heat it, and get out of the way, or you just be careful.
Gotcha.
Just don't go down there, and it's going to spin it out.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.